Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Today I am excited to be talking about my thoughts on the Wheel of Time series before I go into reading the series. So this is something that I really wished I did before The Witcher. I really wished that I sat down and I talked about what I expected the Witcher series to be like, what I expected the pros to be, what I expected the cons to be, whether or not I expected to enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, when I finished the Witcher series, the series was so different to what I was expecting. For example, it was a lot more political than I was expecting. It was a lot less action heavy than I was expecting. But I did also thoroughly enjoy it a lot more than I thought I would. So I want to do that with the Wheel of Time. I just want to get my thoughts out, what I expect to be the pros, what I expect to be the cons. And then once I finish the series, I can go back and watch this video. Maybe I'll react to the video and see if I got things right or see how wrong I was. So it took about 3 weeks, but I finally got a copy of the first book, The Eye of the World. This is a library edition, so I don't know if it'll come up on the camera, but it's so old and it smells like such an old book. It's actually really, really cool. Like, it's got that faded yellow, its spine is just broken. It's got a slice missing out of the corner of its page for some reason. I'm not sure if that's a specific library thing or if that is just how weather-torn and beaten down this poor book is. But honestly, I am really looking forward to starting this series. And I'm going to start with one of my worries about this series. First of all, this series is 14 or 15 books long. I know there is some debate about a prequel or something, whether or not that counts, so it's either 14 or 15 books long. And it, in my mind, immediately begs the question, what story needs to be told over 14 books? Because before these books, the longest series I read was Harry Potter, which is 7 books long. Or The Witcher, which is 8 books in the series, but it's really 5 books long in the continuous story. Even The Lord of the Rings was 6 shorter books that they turned into 3 bigger books, but you can also buy in 1 really thick book. And that's one of the main concerns I have with this story. Is it going to feel too long? Is it going to feel too drawn out? Like, the premise of the story cannot sustain 14 books. Because as far as I'm aware, all of these books are pretty thick. Like, for example, this book is 814 pages long. So if they are all 814 pages long, and there's 15 books, just some quick math, what's that? Something like 12,000 pages? So that's really one of my main concerns, because take Harry Potter for example. 7 books was the correct amount of books for that series. Would have it been nice to get more books and learn more about the magic, and they do more schooling, maybe they go to Wizard University and they do more cool wizard learning stuff? Sure, that would have been great, but they really ended the story in the correct place. 7 books was the correct amount of books to tell that story. Same as The Witcher. As much as I really enjoyed The Witcher, if they continued that series for any longer, it would have been to the detriment of the series. But in saying that, if they made a bunch of spin-off short stories like with The Last Wish or The Sword of Destiny, that would be awesome. I would love to read those. So can this story sustain 14 books? That is my concern number 1. My next issue is that I hear that this story can be quite repetitive. I hear that the books were spaced out. So the author, Robert Jordan, did a lot of recapping. Apparently he does loads and loads and loads of recapping. You'll learn about the magic system 100 times. You'll learn about people 100 times. You'll learn about places, names, things, whatever. You'll learn about everything 100 times because the books were spaced out. So the author had to do those recaps. And that's not really a huge deal. I'm not really too concerned about that because a lot of stories have that. And I feel as if one of the ways I will get past this repetition is by reading a story in between. So say, for example, I read The Eye of the World, and instead of going into the second book, which I believe is called The Great Hunt, I will instead read another shorter story. I'm currently reading Mistborn, so I'll probably space the Mistborn books between the Wheel of Time books, because if I was to go straight from one to the next, to the next, to the next, I could very well burn myself out on this story, but also the repetitiveness would catch up to me pretty quickly. So I'm aware of it, I'm going into it with a plan in order to not burn out. So that's my concern number 2. My concern number 3 is something that they call the slog. Apparently there are 3 or 4 books, depending on who you ask, that are just the worst to get through. Apparently they just require you to just put your nose to the grindstone and just power through like 2,000 pages. Apparently there is no way around it, you can't skip it, even though some people say you can. Apparently you should not skip it. But that is something that a lot of people will mention if you say that you want to read these stories. Because 2,000 pages of something that you are not going to enjoy is huge. That is a lot of time and effort and brain power to invest into something that you're not even enjoying. So I am aware of the slog, I am prepared for it. I don't know what I'm going to do to get around it. Honestly, I think I'll just power through it. If you're watching this and you've already read these books, let me know if it's as bad as people say. From what I hear, I believe it's book 7, 8, and 9, but I could be wrong. One of the final negative points or the final concerns that I have for this series is apparently I hear that the ending is quite questionable. I hear that some people say it ends fantastic, some people say it ends terribly, and some people say it just ends in a meh, like whatever, I'll take it or leave it. It's not a huge deal. Now, for someone to look at this series in 14 or 15 books and to make that commitment, knowing that you could very well hate the ending, you could very well invest 6 months or whatever into reading these stories just to find out that you hate the ending. That is a pretty massive investment and potential waste of time. So I am really going into this story with the mindset of it's about the journey, not about the destination. I'm really hoping to go into it with a positive mindset. So if in the end I do dislike the ending, I would have still enjoyed the journey. So now that we've got all of that negativity out of the way, I want to talk about what I'm expecting and what I'm hoping to get from this series. First of all, I know that this series changed authors from Robert Jordan to Brandon Sanderson. And that's actually one of the reasons why I decided to give this series a try, because I have just this year started reading a lot more Brandon Sanderson. I read Skyward, I read Warbreaker, and I'm currently in the middle of Mistborn. And I have realized that I very much vibe with Brandon Sanderson's style of writing. I enjoy the stories he has to tell, and I am really just kind of going down a rabbit hole of all of his writing right now. But not only that, I also watch another booktuber named Daniel Green. Now, if you are unaware, Daniel Green is obsessed with the Wheel of Time, and he talks about it non-stop. So I thought I would finally give this series a try to see what that guy's been going on about for so long, but also because I am a huge fan of Brandon Sanderson. Now then, what am I expecting? I'm expecting incredible character work. If there is a story that needs to expand over 14 books, I'm expecting the characters that are explored, the cultures, the civilizations, and all of that good stuff, I'm expecting that to be so well developed and presented in an amazing way. I'm expecting the characters I follow from page 1 will either be dead at the end or will be completely different at the end. Because 14 books is a long time to develop characters. But not only that, also cultures, relationships, religions, magic systems, all of that. I am expecting this series to be not so much focused on action. I'm expecting this series to be very focused on political scheming. Kind of like a toned down version of Game of Thrones. So imagine Game of Thrones, but without the gore. That's kind of what I'm imagining going into this. It's going to be a lot of people trying to do big political moves, but other people's political moves are stopping them from achieving their goals. And yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't really know much else about this series. All I know is it's massive, and apparently it is one of the best series ever written. So I am really looking forward to giving it a try. I sincerely hope that I do love it, because it is such a massive investment of my time. I hope that I do really enjoy it. And if I do really enjoy it, then I will definitely get my brothers into it so I can talk to them about it. That'd be really cool. And I also have a friend, Ross, shout out to Ross if you're watching, that is currently reading this series, so I will be able to talk to him about it. That'll be pretty cool. Also, Daniel Green is doing a read-along for this series. So as I read the books, I might do like reaction videos to his read-alongs to the series, as long as he doesn't say anything spoilery, of course. So yeah, that's it. I'm really excited about this. Thanks for watching this far. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below if you have read it, if you loved it, if you're planning on reading it, if you're planning on watching the TV show. Let me know. And as always, thank you very much.